What is up, folks? Solar Strike here, and today we are here to talk about Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, a 3D platformer for 6th generation consoles developed by Krome Studios and published by Electronic Arts on October 9th, 2002, followed by later ports for the PC and 8th generation consoles throughout 2016 to 2020, published by Krome this time. A collectathon affair akin to games like Super Mario 64, it is set across Australia on an unknown island, with various locales across many different environments, with 10 levels of rummaging around collecting thunder eggs, the game's main collectible. You tackle enemies using various types of boomerangs, some of which you earn naturally throughout the campaign, but most of them must be made by collecting golden cogs, the game's other main collectible. The game's plot involves Ty, a Tasmanian tiger, falling into a cave to find that he is the last of his kind, a band of protectors and warriors to defend the 5 talismans, of which the rest were sent into a portal known as the Dreaming, which was caused by a failed raid by an evil cassowary known as Boss Cass. Realizing Ty must retrieve the talismans to get those defenders back, which includes his parents, he teams up with MAURIE, an unmotivated yet interested cockatoo, and JULIUS, a koala scientist who makes portals that lead to the talismans, as well as crafting the new boomerangs, where all 3 go across various Australian locales to get the talismans back, meeting various friends along the way. However, Boss Cass and a mysterious figure resembling Ty is quickly watching their moves, and in fact has already found one talisman by the time he knows of Ty's existence. Ultimately, the game would receive average reviews at the time of its launch due to its relatively simplistic plot and gameplay, and obvious influences from other games, but its locations and visuals were praised by reviewers. Nonetheless, the game garnered a following in the years since its release, with the fruits of this fandom's labor spawning 3 sequels and ports to PC and 8th generation consoles. So what happened in development of this 2002 cult classic? Well, let's dig into this game's time in the works. Krome Studios was founded in 1999 in Brisbane, Australia by 3 employees who had met each other when the 3 were working on Mike Stewart's Pro Bodyboarding. In their early days, Krome continued to make various sports games for publishers for the PC and consoles to keep the young company afloat. However, a much bigger project was needed to get their name out there, and so the genesis of a development of a 3D action platforming game began in December 2000 at Krome's offices on the PS2, with early prototype builds being ready late that month using their in-house Mercury engine. The project at this stage was very early on, but already showed the central concepts of the game in action, and the 5 developers in the project would refine these aspects through the next few months into early 2001. Eventually, it came time to pitch the game to a publisher, so late that spring, the team created a brief sequence showing off boomerangs thrown by Ty terrorizing a couple of the game's enemies as a pitch. Unfortunately for the team, this did not work out for them due to the concepts and gameplay not being obvious in the reel, so they had to work on the game further before making another pitch. As a result, the game continued unabated at Krome, making a new world that was much more vivid, known as the Living World pitch, before making a second round at pitching to studios later in 2001, showing much more gameplay and environmental variances. Luckily, the team would get the green light this time around from Electronic Arts, a company not easily identifiable with any mascots at that time, of which they hoped to rectify with Krome's work. As a result, full-scale development began in late 2001, with a development team of 40 members and 15 quality assurance testers by the summer of 2002. The team made it clear in interviews of the time that they took to inspirations of what the team liked in development, like Super Mario 64 and Crash Bandicoot for the core game design, but also films such as Jaws for one of the bosses. For the locations in the game, the team toured across Australian landscapes to get a better understanding of the variety of environments the game featured. With these inspirations and confidence within the team in mind, work on the game progressed rather smoothly throughout late 2001 and early 2002, and Ty would finally be unveiled by EA in May of 2002, where the game would be showed off at E3 that month, impressing spectators with its style of gameplay and visuals, considered a good step for a third-party platforming game. Development continued at Krome before finally finishing up that September. In the end, the game would release on Wednesday, October 9th, 2002 in the US, with PAL territories such as Krome's homeland of Australia receiving it a month later in November. As mentioned before, the game garnered average reviews for its somewhat simplistic plot and gameplay, but the visuals and locations were praised. The game eventually sold over 1 million copies worldwide. The game spawned 2 additional sequels in the next 3 years from Krome Studios, before being tasked to work on the Spyro series by Sierra from its work on the Ty trilogy, and later licensed Star Wars games from LucasArts, eventually becoming Australia's largest game development studio. However, Krome would be struggling by the end of the decade, and only narrowly avoided a closure in 2010 after massive layoffs. As a result, they formed a partnership with Microsoft to make games for the Xbox 360's live services and their mobile department. Shortly thereafter, the series was revived in 2012 with a new mobile entry known as Boomerang Blast for iOS. 1 year later, the 4th entry in the series was released for Microsoft's mobile devices before receiving a proper PC port in 2015. Being a radically different game from the other 3, this new entry would serve as a catalyst for some of the team to revisit the original trilogy. Work on a PC port of the game progressed in the final months of 2015, before being announced in February 2016 by Krome Studios as a Steam Early Access title hitting in March, published by Krome themselves this time. For many kids of the 2000s and the budding Ty fandom, this was an exciting time as the game had become a bit of a cult classic in the years since its release. This new port would feature enhanced lighting effects and textures, as well as high frame rate support, among other quality of life tweaks. Eventually, after the port left early access in December, the other 2 games would follow in 2017 and 2018, using the same pattern of releasing. The next year, fresh from the success the PC ports got, Krome would start a Kickstarter campaign showcasing a prototype of a Nintendo Switch port of the game, asking for funds to get this port off the ground. The campaign would prove to be a big success, not only ensuring the Switch release, but also giving it ports to the other 2 platforms at the time, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. These ports would release across the following year, along with incremental updates to the PC version. Overall, despite not being an immediate success at its launch, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger would carve out a nice niche in the years that followed. Not bad work for a little Australian orange rat.